Sucker punch somebody on a sidewalk, carjacking old lady at a red light, pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store. You think it's cool, act a fool if you like, cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomp on the flag and light it up. Yeah, you think you're tough. Well, try that in a small town, see how far you make it down the road. Around here we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't.
Hi, welcome to Just Common Sense. My name's Brian Harrison. So, guys, I got Jerry on the line again tonight. So, hey, say hi, Jerry.
Hi, Jerry.
And as always, they applause for him, but not me. That's interesting. So they must like him and not me. I don't get that. I can't figure that out.
Well, I don't have the applause button on my end.
I have a live audience. What are you talking about? I have hundreds of people back there. Hundreds of people, thousands. It's big. It's big. Thousands and thousands of people back there.
It's a Trump rally.
Yeah. My show is bigger than Trump rallies. All right. We're going to tell you how big my show is, guys. We sat here and just did a podcast and we were half an hour into it. And you know what? Dummy forgot to hit the record button. So we just did this whole thing and Jerry's like about to kill me. So I agree with Jerry. This is the thing when you're running tech, you're running everything, and you're trying to do all these things.
You're trying to keep your live audience happy, and I mean...
Yeah, I know. Thanks, audience, for telling me, thousands of you out there. I really appreciate that. Yeah, they're all in my studio right now. Right, thousands. Gosh, I feel so stupid on that one. Anyway, we're going to try this again. So you guys should have heard the last one. It was great. We're probably not going to do as good this time. All right, so we're going to talk about, guess what? We're going to talk about what just happened with the big guy. We're going to talk about Hunter Biden. We're going to talk about cocaine in the White House. And we're going to talk about, guess what? We're going to talk a little bit about human trafficking because we're going to talk about Hunter Biden involved in that. And, you know, what else are we going to talk about? Jerry, what else were we going to talk about? We're going to talk about...
Man, there's enough to talk about Hunter Biden for a couple of weeks probably, so...
Yeah, I know. But we're going to talk about what happened yesterday as well with the whistleblowers. So that's a biggie right there. That's one we're going to talk about. So first of all, I want to bring that up with the whistleblowers because let's talk about this. Two of them were there yesterday. They work for the the IRS. And that being said, one of them is gay. He's a Democrat. And he's married to, obviously, a guy. Now, Jerry did some research on this guy. And apparently he is far left. But he's doing the right thing. And the reason why I want to say this is because when you look in the mirror, you have to look at yourself every morning and say, am I doing the right thing? You do. I get up every morning and I think, okay, what can I do better today than I did yesterday? Now, I want to talk about the DOJ. I want to talk about the FBI. I want to talk about the Secret Service. The IRS is another one. But these guys take an oath to be in this, to be part of this law enforcement. Their oath is to protect and uphold the law. Not the politicians, the law. So, therefore, if you feel like you are waking up every morning and all of a sudden you're looking in that mirror and you're going, guess what? I've got to uphold the law. Maybe I need to go tell the truth of what's going on out there, of what I know, like these whistleblowers. Now, my understanding there are 15 more behind them, perhaps. I've heard that. I'm not sure, but there are. That's what I'm hearing. So,
well, you know, the other thing is too, Brian, these guys, like, I got to tell you, you know, you and I talk an awful lot about how these agencies that used to be revered and they used to be respected and people are just losing all faith in them and everything like that. And this might be the beginning of, you know, a wave where these agents are tired of, you know, being made fun of and tired of being put down and, tired of being told what garbage they are by the public because of the people above them. And so this might be the new wave coming out where these guys are going to say, hey, we're tired of, being, relegated to a corrupt agency. I mean, all of us
Right.
aren't, and let some of us prove that all of us are not corrupt. And so, because we've had a couple of
Yes.
FBI whistleblowers now. Now we've got a couple of
Mhm.
IRS whistleblowers. And I would hope that this is going to be, the new standard that these guys say, hey, you know what, if you're not going to allow us to do our job, and if you're not going to allow us to be a respectable agency, then we're going to have to go out and go public.
Right. And you know what? For those of you out there, if any of you are listening to my podcast and you're part of this group when it comes to the FBI, we're not calling you all bad, nothing like that. There's a selected few that are high up that are covering all this stuff up. Now, that being said, if you know anything based on the stuff that they're talking about, anything on the truth, and you feel bad about trying to cover it up, maybe you need to be a whistleblower and come out and start talking about it. Because this isn't about, it shouldn't be about Republicans. It shouldn't be about the Democrats. It's about the law. It's about morals, ethics, and the right thing to do.
Well,
And
yeah,
I
because
don't,
it doesn't
yeah,
say Democrat Department of Justice. It says
no,
Department of Justice. And
right,
unfortunately, the Department of Justice has gone to the left, and it has become political. And that's
right.
where people need to stand up and say, hey, you know what? This is
Mhm.
wrong. And I agree with you that it's not everybody in these agencies,
No,
but anybody that sits back and lets it happen and doesn't say anything, they're complicit.
that's correct. Yep, that's absolutely right. So, listening to these whistleblowers yesterday, when I was listening to quite a few parts of this yesterday, I'm going to play a segment, not now, but in a little bit, something that Marjorie Taylor Greene brought up and played, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But yesterday, there was a lot that went on. Now, these whistleblowers, they are actually going through a lot. They are risking a lot to tell the truth. And of course, the Democrats attack them instead of saying, okay, let's hear what evidence you have. And that's what they did. They attacked. So it tells you where the Democrats were. Unfortunately, I mean, I'm not saying all Democrats are bad, but if you're following that, and I'm not, most of them, I'm going to say them, most of them there, yes, they're bad. I think the problem is with a lot of Democrats right now, even, out there, if you guys are hearing me, you're doing it, you're following the Democratic Party because it's what you were either told to do from your parents, that's the way you were raised. I think you need to do a little research. I'm not saying the Republicans are perfect, they're not. But you need to do research and quit attacking and understand what's really going on out there. You want to talk about the Democratic Party. Let's talk about their past before. I know we're getting a little off subject. I do want to talk about their past. Well, what about slavery? Jerry, you know this one. Give him a chance to talk.
Well,
Who started slavery and all?
well, the Democrat Party, was the party that, protected slavery.
Mm-hmm.
And the Democrat Party today still produces slavery through people that sit around and collect money for nothing. And it's like, it's just the new plantation. Hey, look, man, we'll put you up in these apartments in our projects, and we'll pay for your food, and we'll pay for, this, and we'll pay for that. And then they basically get them hooked on that. And it's like, and then they're not out there doing anything of value for themselves, for the country, for their neighborhood, for their family. And that's just a different kind of slavery. And right now with the open border, and the human trafficking that's coming across that border, that is slavery. That's actual modern day slavery, because those people are enslaved to those cartels and, to wherever they get sent for sexual slavery. And the crazy thing is, it's not all sexual slavery. Some of them are sent to, go, work on a farm somewhere where they'll never be paid, and they're locked up at night. And, the farm is getting free labor.
Yeah.
And some of them are put to work as, what do you call it, messengers, carrying drugs back and forth. And so slavery takes many, many faces. And the Democrat
Yes.
Party is the party of slavery. As a matter of fact,
Mm-hmm.
and I know I've brought this up, in the past, but the founder of the Democrat Party
Yep.
was a slave owner. So,
Do you,
they were
mm-hmm.
the party that started the KKK. They were the party that first supported slavery.
Yep.
There's just so many things. So that it just drives me up a wall when the first thing they do is cry racist at the Republicans anytime something happens.
And you look at the history of most of the presidents and stuff in the back that are in the past. I mean, that owned slaves were Democrats. Look it up. It's true.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely true.
well,
Washington
the
owned a
GOP
slave.
was actually
Yeah, I know, I hear it
started
once.
as a party to get
That
rid
was
of
it.
slavery.
Yes.
I mean, that
I
was
know.
the reason they started the party.
Yep. And this is what you guys got to research. There's so much more involved in this. So much more. Now, Jerry had a point when you were talking about slavery and stuff, and I want to talk about this because we just brought up a segment last time. Was it time before? It was last time. It was about human trafficking and slavery based off that movie. Now, that being said, I want to talk about Hunter Biden. And because we're going back to the Democrat Party, here we go again. Hunter Biden, obviously there's videos and stuff out there right now of him being with prostitutes. Now, most of the prostitutes out there that he was with were brought up as children, not saying he's with children, but they were brought up into this from sex trafficking. Well, therefore, if he's paying them, even as they're adults, he's supporting this. Therefore, he's still supporting the trafficking. And there we go again, back into slavery. It's a different type of slavery. It's actually worse. And guess what? Democrat Party all tied up together. Boom, there you go. I got it. Makes sense, Jerry?
Absolutely. And I do want to go ahead and I'll throw something out there that with Hunter Biden, I know that you mentioned that, right now he's not, involved in sex with children. I'll throw out there.
I don't know.
We know
I'm just saying.
that we know of, but on his
Right.
laptop, there were pictures of girls of questionable age. And that's kind of being glossed over by everybody right now. And, in all these investigations and these hearings and everything like that, they're not really bringing that up. They're not really talking about that. And I'm not
Right.
sure why.
Yeah.
So is he involved in trafficking indirectly through the use of
Yes.
drugs? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is he involved in trafficking indirectly through the use of prostitutes? Yes. But he may actually be involved in it. And again, I'm saying may.
Right,
but
may.
he
I
may
say that
actually
too.
be involved in, the actual direct trafficking of children for sex trafficking if he was involved with minors. And that's the kind of stuff that right now, this should be, my goodness, if we had a special counsel that, went and investigated Trump
Right.
the way they did, how in the world do we not have one on Hunter Biden right now, digging into every aspect of his life and finding, if we have pictures off his laptop of some of the things he's done, like smoking crack while driving a car.
Yep.
Okay. That's kind of dangerous, I would think.
Yep.
My gosh, Brian, what has he done in some of the foreign countries that are more permissive than we are?
Yeah.
And it's like, because he's traveled all over the place
Yep.
in the name of his father and collecting money in the name of his father. And
The
it's
big
like,
guy.
Yeah, the big guy. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of stuff that me personally, I never did, but I've got friends that when they would travel to some of these foreign countries, they would come back with these crazy, weird, wild stories. And you're like, that can't be true. And they're like, I'm telling you it is. And these guys didn't have half the resources that Hunter Biden has. So I got to tell you, I think it's what we know is the tip of the iceberg, and that's it.
Yeah. And I want to talk about the FBI and why aren't they releasing this laptop? Give me a minute here, Jerry. Why aren't they releasing this laptop? Well, when you're hiding something, you're not going to release it. Look, if you are actually involved in law enforcement, and the FBI is. They should be following the law and saying, well, guess what? Nobody, and I mean nobody, is above the law. Nobody. So we need to get the laptop out there, get it to the Senate and the House so they can do a hearing on this. Everybody gets to see the whole thing, goes through this, and finds out the real evidence. If there is nothing on the laptop, then why hide it?
Yeah, because if there's nothing to hide, then why hide?
Exactly.
And to piggyback on what you're saying,
Yeah.
Like I've said before, one of my big pet peeves is when there is a crime that has been proven to have taken place.
Yeah.
And these prosecutors or these DAs or these attorney generals use what they call prosecutorial discretion and say, oh, well, I'm not going to prosecute that one. And it's always some sort of political thing or nepotism. But my personal, and the reason it's a pet peeve of mine is, if I get a traffic ticket, I got to show up in traffic court or I have to pay the ticket, one or the other. I don't have another choice. It's either show up in court, pay the ticket. And, they don't say, well,
Right.
You're a good guy. You're a nice guy. We're just going to drop all the charges just for the heck of it. We're not going to pursue this at all.
Sure.
No, not at all. And so that's my personal opinion is when there's been a crime, it needs to be prosecuted and you need to put them in line and, just go one after the other, after the other, after the other and work through them until you're done with your caseload. And if the caseload is too much, appoint more judges. And, but there's so much of this. I mean, the first time around, Jussie Smollett, they let him go, and then they finally prosecute him and then they let him go. Oh, well, it's too dangerous because he's a celebrity. He shouldn't be in prison. And so here's Hunter Biden now. I mean, the guy's kicked out of the Navy for doing drugs. Now, by the way, I've known a few people that, were kicked out of the Marine Corps when I was in for similar circumstances. And they usually did jail time before they were kicked out. Mm-hmm. And so here's Hunter Biden, who, because he's a Biden, didn't do any jail time. And, here he is now. He has, flaunted his use of, illegal money to pay for hookers, by expensing it. He's done all these things. And, they're not even going to prosecute it. But they're going after Trump for that. They impeached Trump over a phone call that they didn't even have a true record of. And they went off of just verbal opinions of what people thought about the phone call. Here's Hunter Biden with a laptop. Here's Hunter Biden with tax records. As a matter of fact, here's Hunter Biden who confessed to not paying his taxes. So he actually confessed to not paying them. And they're not really doing anything. It's going to be a slap on the wrist. Oh, we'll give you a little bit of a fine and you be a good boy the rest of the week.
Yeah, and you brought this up in the first podcast we started to do tonight about Hunter Biden and his sad past history and all that. Go ahead and bring that up about that losing
about what now?
I think losing family members, things like that.
Joe Biden. You and I were talking about how Biden hasn't taken care of his family,
right?
And he hasn't. And so here's Hunter Biden, and Joe goes out and says, oh well, Hunter's had such a rough life and a tragic life, and he lost his mother when he was a child to a car accident. He lost a sibling that was in the car with his mother, and then later on his brother passed away, of brain cancer. Well, Brian, I have known a number of people in my life that have lost family members, spouses, friends, children to car accidents. As a matter of fact, now that I think about it, I lost a cousin in a stupid car chase. He was running from the cops. Something stupid, ran a stop sign and was killed in a car accident. Yeah. And it's like, but of all these people that I know that have lost people, whether it be a disease, a car crash, as a matter of fact, my very good friend that I was in the Marine Corps with, he had a brother who had a heroin problem, and we thought that he had kicked his heroin problem, and so he moved back in with his mom to get his life back together. And one day he got a bad batch, and his mom walked in the room, and he was slumped in the corner of the room with a needle sticking out of his arm.
That's tragic.
And he was dead. And it's terribly tragic. And so, but here's the funny thing. Mm-hmm. All these people that I know none of them have developed a lifelong drug habit. Yep. None of them have, gone out and gotten strippers pregnant. And, gotten, I mean, it's like, and developed substance abuse problems. Now, you know what? Do some of them maybe drink a little bit more than some of their friends do? Possibly.
Yeah.
But none of them that I know have gone out and done nearly half the stuff that Hunter Biden has.
Right.
And he has much more than double the resources of anybody that I know.
Right.
And, rather than going out and saying, you know what, I've got the backing and the resources and, man, I'm going to go into rehab and get my life back together and everything like that. No, he goes out and gets a stripper pregnant and has a kid that he won't even recognize.
Nor
Now
Joe
he
recognize
sneaks cocaine into the White House. And
Joe doesn't recognize the kid either.
Yeah, exactly.
Not at all. And it's his.
Well, here's the funny thing.
Yeah.
Now, I was listening to an interview about that the other day, and they're saying that the optics are bad for him not recognizing this child, so that they're getting ready to launch a campaign where he's going to recognize the child and, kind of, for lack of a better term, bring her into the fold and everything like that. But this is the same Joe Biden whose family sued the mother so that she couldn't use the name Biden, even though Hunter Biden is the father.
Yeah, and that just tells you where you're dealing with. Hold on, Jerry. So I wanted to bring this up because Jerry brought this up, and I brought this up earlier. I was talking about Joe Biden as a father. Forget the president. As a father and a parent. If you're a parent and you have a child, or in his case, an adult child, or he's still a child mentally. No, but if you have one of your children, and they're always going to be your children. I mean, I don't care how old they are. But the point is, as a parent, a good parent, you're going to focus on, your son, your daughter. You're going to focus on them. Family comes first before job. And with them, him not helping his son and trying to get him into rehab, trying to focus on that instead of hiding everything, trying to hide it all. Maybe you should be out there being a good parent and trying to help him overcome this many years ago when he was much younger, obviously. But a good parent would do that. Let's talk about Joe's wife. I mean, all she cares about if Joe fell down right in front of her. Oh, hurry up, pick him up. I like to be on TV. Hurry up, pick him up. I mean, that's like, that's what she's focused on. She's focused on being in the spotlight. Joe can't even hold a conversation anymore of any sort. He fell asleep the other day on a talk show he was on. He literally was falling asleep. It's out there. You could see it. And it's not good. And other countries are looking at this. But I just wanted to bring that part up about being a parent. You need to focus on that. And it tells you that they're not focused on him. All they're doing is trying to hide everything. And they're letting him Biden going wild. That's basically it.
Well, they try and excuse everything by saying that he had some sort of tragic life, and it's like, I mean, okay, so you had a tragic life. I get it. I understand.
Yeah,
and that is a factor to consider.
Sure,
if we're giving you some sort of punishment, I get it, but to continue to flagrantly go out and do the things that he does, even after he's already had negative. I mean, I got to tell you, Brian, that being kicked out of the military when you're a military officer, that's a big deal.
Big deal.
And it's like, so
disgrace.
Yeah. And he was an officer. And so, being kicked out for drugs, that's a big deal. That wasn't enough to wake him up.
Right.
Then, here's his dad, who's now the president of the United States. And Hunter is being accused of, manipulation with foreign governments and with foreign companies and everything like that. And it's like, that's a big deal. Rather than being out in front of the public, you should be sitting in a room somewhere away from the press, off the cameras, and everything like that. I mean, but that just shows the arrogance of that family, that they're not kind of, sequestering him and keeping him out of the public eye.
Right. I do want to say one thing, too. When I was listening to everything, with these whistleblowers yesterday, like I said, the Democrats, all they kept doing, instead of trying to get to the truth and saying, well, let's hear more evidence. Let's see what you have to say about it. Let's see a lot more evidence. Well, you know what? They were posting pictures of, obviously, Hunter Biden with prostitutes. That's one thing. Marjorie Taylor Greene was showing photos, and I saw the photos. They weren't like showing nudity and all that. But, I mean, you've got Alexandria Cortez sitting there, and you know what she was saying? She goes, Oh my gosh, all they're doing is talking about porn here. Well, Alexandria, you're an adult. You're in a room with adults. Yes, nobody wants to see it. However, that shows you what's really going on. Open your eyes, do your job, and focus on what you're supposed to be focused on. Not the Democratic Party. You're supposed to be focused on right and wrong. And that's what you're supposed to be focusing on. And you're more focused on that, and you're more focused on your party. And that's the problem with the Democrats. They're focused on the party. I'm not saying Republicans are perfect. I've said that. But you look at the majority up there, especially the Democrats, that's all they want is power, power, power. They're power hungry, and they're not doing their job. They're not doing the right thing. And they don't care about the people. They don't care about the American people. They don't care about all this stuff that goes on. They just want to stay in that seat. That's all they're focused on.
And on Cortez too.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna share something with you,
yeah,
Cortez. This is your job. Okay.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, there's a door. You can leave it. Don't let it hit you. But this is your job. If you don't like investigating things like that, and if you're unwilling to do it, then leave the committee that you're on, because you don't have to be in there.
Right.
And so, this is your job. And, so the funny thing is, she was one of the ones pushing really hard about Donald Trump and Stormy Daniels. Yes. And it's like, and there wasn't even any pictures involved in that.
Right.
And it's like, but you know what? Hey, now it's real. Now do you believe us? Because before you can say, well, I haven't seen the pictures. And you know what? You're in a hearing room. And it's like, so, it's not like we're, showing this graphic stuff. It's not like we're doing drag queen story hour, you know, and it's in a children's bookstore. This is in Congress, and everybody in Congress is an adult, and the people on that committee are adults. So she needs to suck it up and handle it, or she needs to leave. And that's just, because nobody, you requested to be on that committee. You didn't, just be told, oh yeah, you're going to be on this committee. I mean, when you wind up on these committees like that, you request them. Yeah. So, all she's trying to do is just play it off like it's not important. Right. But I guarantee if Marjorie Taylor Greene had not shown the photos, then Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez would be saying, well, we haven't really seen the photos, so we don't really know. Right. So it's a darned if you do, darned if you don't.
Well, and she was hired by the American people to do her job, and she's now part of the club instead of doing her job and listening to her real employers, the American people. And she can be fired as easily as that, too. So it just takes time. Vote her out. Trust me. All right. So I do want to mention, too, yesterday when they were talking, they brought up Trump. I think it was 17 different people brought up Trump on the Democratic side. Trump, 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 Trump. This was not about Trump. It was about what's going on. It's about the law. It was about Hunter Biden only. That's what we're focused on. It was focused on Hunter Biden. It was focused on the whistleblowers telling the truth, who have the guts getting out there. It's focused on the big guy. It's focused on the whole party of people that are like that, doing that right now. And it's freaking ridiculous that they just kept bringing up Trump. All right. We're going to play a segment in a minute, and I'm going to tell you it's 8 minutes, 9 minutes, but we're going to do bits at a time because we're not going to make this podcast all night. We're 28 minutes into it, so we want to make sure we don't do this all night because Jerry's got a lot to do. He's got to go to the office and stuff tomorrow as well. Jerry, anything on that before I go on?
No, go ahead and play it.
Okay, this was Marjorie Taylor Greene. You're going to hear it. I'm not going to have the video up, but you'll be able to hear this. And they're questioning people there. But hold on, let me go ahead and get this up and running. It'll take me a second. Let's go. I don't know where Jerry went. There he is.
Recognizes Ms. Greene for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we begin, I would like to let the committee and everyone watching at home that parental discretion is advised.
Right.
I would also like to remind everyone that on our Oversight Committee, we provide oversight into all parts of the federal government, including their Department of Justice and their willingness to prosecute and their unwillingness to prosecute, and whether it's politically motivated. I would also like to say that when evidence and proof of a crime is presented, no prosecution should be denied, no matter who the person is.
Right.
To the whistleblowers today, I thank both of you for your courage to come to the committee today. and your commitment to truth. I have great respect for it, so thank you. I would like to talk with you both about Hunter Biden and his tax write-offs with his law firm, Owasco. I would like to ask Mr. Ziegler, when did you start your investigation? In your testimony, it was November 2018. Is that correct? Yes or no?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. During your testimony with the House Ways and Means Committee, you stated that through bank records, you identified Hunter Biden was paying prostitutes related to a potential prostitution ring. Is that correct? Yes or no?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, so I want to bring up something. Jerry will jump right into this. So they're talking to Mr. Ziegler right now, who is one of the whistleblowers. And Marjorie Taylor Greene said everything we just said, and she just talked about a prostitution ring. There's the answer right there. What is a prostitution ring, Jerry?
Well, a prostitution ring would be a professional group of people,
right?
That, that's what they do. And it's an organized group.
Right.
People that is run by somebody. And I'm going to go ahead and use a street term here, for lack of a better term, a pimp. Okay.
Right.
And it's like, all pimps don't walk around in big, furry hats and, and everything like that with, gold teeth. I mean, it's like some of them are, well, look at Heidi Fleiss when she was running that thing out in California.
Oh, yeah.
The Hollywood Madam. And it's like, so when you look at these prostitution rings, I mean, a lot of times a guy like Hunter Biden is a frequent customer of theirs, and they provide, either different women or the same woman, over time more than once.
So,
and the one thing I took away from that video though was it seems and the one thing I'd like to see a little deeper dive into,
right?
She mentioned that this woman was listed as an employee. So is that woman actually an employee, and he's now guilty of sexual harassment and sexual misconduct,
right,
and abusing the authority of his position in his company, or is she a prostitute and he lied on his taxes on who she was when he flew her from from out west back to Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, flew her. Get that? Flew her. Also, I was talking about the ring. Also, the rings of sex trafficking. That's where I was going with that as well. All right, let's play more of it.
I've also reviewed those same bank reports, commonly referred to as SARS, suspicious activity reports, and I'm very troubled by them. We read thousands of them in the Treasury. This particular excerpt from a SARS report talks about human trafficking, and in regards to Hunter Biden and Owasco.
Guess what she just said? Human trafficking. That's what we were just talking about. Human trafficking. Why is this getting so big right now? There was just a movie about it. We just did a podcast on it. She just said it right there, Jerry.
Yep.
All right, go on with it. Hold on.
And payments he was making.
Payments he was making. Human
What's
trafficking.
even more troubling to me is that the Department of Justice has brought no charges against Hunter Biden that will vindicate the rights of these women who are clearly victims under the law.
Right. Clearly victims.
I would like to talk about, in your prior testimony, you stated that the prosecutorial team was investigating violations of the Mann Act. Is that correct, Mr. Ziegler?
That is correct.
Regarding the Mann Act, if a person is transported across state lines for sexual activity, such as prostitution, that could be a violation of a federal law. Is that correct?
I actually recently looked at the federal law regarding Mann Act, and I believe that is correct, but I would refer you to the DOJ manual.
Thank you.
So I want to say something there. She was talking about the Mann Act, and she was talking about transferring people across by a plane. Just what Jerry just said. It's breaking the law, and Jerry just said it before she just said it here. Jerry, questions, anything?
Well, it's interesting because I didn't realize until I saw that video, because I watched it earlier, before we did this, but until I watched that video, I didn't realize that the statute even covered like flying somebody across state lines for that purpose.
Me either.
And so, that's actually, so right off the bat, if he can't prove that this was a willing participant who was not compensated for the
Right.
acts that she did, then that is human trafficking, sex trafficking.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so whether they like to admit it or not, so now if they say, oh, well, she was an employee, great. Let me see her W-2. Let me see her W-9 that she filled out. Let me see
Yeah.
her performance evaluations, for the time that she's worked there. Let me see all the paperwork on her. Let me see her onboarding paperwork and,
Right.
And her health insurance card and everything. I mean, because you and I know that none of that exists.
Right.
But,
Exactly.
if they try and claim she's an employee, okay. And if she's not an employee, like you said, 1099, okay, great. You got to keep records on 1099s and
Right.
who you sent them to and for how much and why you sent them.
Exactly.
What work did they do for you?
Yep. All right. We're going to continue. Hold on, Jerry.
I would like to present this to the committee. This is showing Hunter Biden paying for a victim's United flight from LA to Dulles. This was a...
Hunter Biden's paying for a flight, and she's showing it right now. All right, we'll go on.
I believe this is a violation of the Mann Act. This is Hunter Biden's, this is his proof that he bought the ticket. He bought it for this woman right here. He flew her from Los Angeles to Washington on June 14th, flew her back to Los Angeles, California on June 15th of 2018. And I would like to point out that if he was purchasing her a plane ticket for sex and traveling across state lines, do you believe that to be a violation of the Mann Act, Mr. Ziegler?
So I can talk to specifically what's in my transcript regarding the Mann Act. So I know we were compiling the information together.
Yes, but Mr. Ziegler, as the law states, by the code of the law, it states traveling, paying someone to go across state lines is prostitution. It's a violation of the Mann Act. Let me just move on just one more second here. So when Hunter Biden paid for this woman to do this with him, to travel.
All right, so she's talking about what Hunter Biden has paid for a woman to do a certain thing. I'm not going to get into it. They're showing a video or a picture of it. However, right. They are blocking it out, but they're showing Hunter Biden grabbing certain parts and her grabbing certain parts. I will say that, but they're blocking it out. They blacked it out so you couldn't see it. Thank you for doing that. Huh?
That should be done.
Yeah, and obviously it should be, but I'm going back to that for a reason because then you got, obviously, Cortez going, that's porn. No, it's not. It's just proving a point what he's doing and what a disgrace his son is. And obviously the big guys, should be saying something about this. But again, that's anything. I'm getting ready to play the segment. We are literally halfway through it almost.
Yeah, well, it's, a combination of fraud because he has claimed
right.
That it was a business expense and he paid for that with company funds. And so he's now guilty of, fraud. And also, even though it's not necessarily this particular moment in time, this guy, we've already talked about all the other stuff he's done, the drugs, the trafficking, everything like that. And then money laundering. Those paintings, I think that anybody with half a brain knows that guy's not a talented artist. No. And so he just took a piece of canvas, threw some paint on it, said, my name's Hunter Biden. And, people threw, exorbitant, stupid amounts of money at it.
Right.
And then less than a year later, he was claiming he was broke and couldn't afford his child support. So, I just, so the guy's money laundering, drugs, sex trafficking. I mean, there's just tax evasion. I mean, there's just so many things this guy has done. Something has to stick.
Right. And it should. And you look at, it's not just them. It's not just him. You look at the whole family. There's been all kinds of stuff. There's been money going. There's proof of money going through companies, foreign companies, all this stuff. And again, more evidence is coming out constantly on this. But again, we need to see it. The FBI, I was going to say, and the DOJ need to really investigate into this and say, you know what, enough's enough with the political side. Let's do our jobs, do the law, and start jumping into this and getting the evidence. All right, I'm going to go on with this. Hold on, Jerry.
Yep.
Across state lines from California to Washington, D.C. on June 15th. This is a violation of the Mann Act. This was prostitution. Let me continue. Did Hunter Biden also use his company, Owasco PC, to pay prostitutes?
Can you hold on one second?
Chairman?
Yeah. We'll give you this additional time back.
Thank you.
Just 1 second. They're just discussing it right now. They're getting ready to come back on.
So regarding Mann Act violations, what we can do is, given by the statute, we can turn those over to the House Ways and Means Committee, and then we can they can decide to vote to turn them over to you regarding Mann Act.
Thank you, Mr. Ziegler. So talking about Hunter Biden using his company, Owasco PC, to pay prostitutes, this is also a suspicious activity report.
So they're talking about Hunter Biden's Wasco PC company, it's called, to pay prostitutes. And he ran it through the company, just like Jerry was talking about earlier. Getting ready to play again. Any more comments, Jerry, from that?
Yeah, I go back to my comment from earlier about I think we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. And I think that if we actually are given a true discovery of the facts, that we're just going to see more and more and more of the same thing, where he has frauded the government by claiming business deductions for hookers.
Yeah.
And, don't be surprised too if we don't find that, somebody admits that they were buying, because a guy like Hunter Biden doesn't go buy his own cocaine.
Right.
He has somebody that buys it for him.
Sure.
And so, don't be surprised if we find somebody that has written him a receipt for something that's non-existent, and it was actually, to buy the drugs. And because if that exists right now, all it's going to take is for somebody to get caught doing something.
Yeah.
And they don't want to go to prison, and they say, hey, what if I could give you Hunter Biden? Really, what you got? And they'll say, well, I wrote him a receipt for this particular product or this particular service, which I never provided. Instead, I just got him a couple of dime bags of cocaine. And, so I think that, right now we're seeing the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, and we're going to see more evidence coming out. I agree with you, Jerry. And at the end of this, we're going to talk about the cocaine in the White House, but that's right at the end of all this. All right, let's play. Let's play. We're just a few more minutes of it. We're almost done.
Showing that victim one, the woman that was paid for prostitution, that traveled from California to Washington, D.C., paid for by Hunter Biden. This is an excerpt from a SARS report that we've read in the Treasury, and I think you all have looked at these too, showing that victim one was supposedly an employee of Owasco. But I would like to point out, this is not really what most paralegals do for law firms.
Wow.
And it's
so she's talking about this person being employed, and she's showing the pictures. Obviously, they're blacked out. So she's saying this is not what most paralegals do, which obviously you see what they're doing in a picture. And guys, I know I'm not showing the video, but you can understand that we don't want to show this anyway. It's just, even though it's blacked out, they're talking about it, and the stuff that's going on is pretty graphic, although it's blacked out to a point. But still, I don't want to have it on here because I don't want children catching any of this stuff, seeing this. And again, just like Jerry and I've talked about Twitter, I like that Elon Musk owns Twitter. I liked a lot of stuff that's being released and the evidence coming out. However, they need to blur this stuff out so kids can't see it. That's the one thing I don't like about Elon Musk, that he's not handling that part of Twitter right. So anyway, let's go on. That's not about this tonight. Hold on.
It's serious that Hunter Biden was paying this woman through his law firm and then writing it off as business tax exemptions. Most people
Writing it off as business tax exceptions. Same thing Jerry just said. Writing it off. All right, let's go on.
write off, write off things for their taxes through their businesses, like a meal or say office supplies. But can you confirm for me that Hunter Biden had written off payments to prostitutes through his law firm, Owasco?
I appreciate the question given by the statute. I'm limited in my testimony today, and I respectfully would need to turn those records over to the House Ways and Means Committee.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ziegler. One last question. You referred to one of the assistants as West Coast assistant. I believe this is the West Coast assistant. Could you agree with that?
So I can tell you that there were deductions for what we believe to be escorts, and then that $10,000 golf club membership. Yes, that was not a golf club membership. That was
$10,000 golf club membership, which he's saying was not a golf club membership. It was to pay these prostitutes. $10,000. Jerry?
You know, it's just, I would like to say it's hard to believe, but at this point, I'll believe just about anything because, you know, I've just, with as much as I've actually seen with this guy, and, you know, sometimes the $10,000 amount, we don't know exactly what he got for $10,000, but sometimes what you're getting is silence. These people won't tell who they were with. And, you know, plus the other thing is too, you got to remember, if he's flying these women across the country, okay, that's not cheap. I travel all the time. I know what airline tickets cost. And, you know, he's probably not buying them tickets in coach. You know, he's probably buying them first class tickets as, you know, part of the agreement. And I mean, you're talking, what was the one they said was from California, I think, or Washington?
California. It was from California to Washington, D.C.
So cross country flight. I mean, if you're flying first class cross country, I mean, that could be a $2,000, $3,000 ticket.
Right.
You know, and it's like, so 10 grand, you know, that's a lot of money, but you know, I mean, it sometimes doesn't go as far as you think, you know, but it's the fact that, you know, he's already not under a serious criminal investigation is troubling.
It's very troubling. It just tells you where the DOJ, the FBI, and all are at right now. And it tells you who's running it right now. And, I mean, if they hear our segment here, they're probably not going to be happy with us tonight talking about it, but I don't really give a damn. Excuse my language. I could care less because I'm going to stand up, and I always said this, I'm going to stand up for right and wrong, and I'm going to stand up myself for the people of this country. And family and God. And that's the way it's God's first. Then family to me. Well, I'd say family and country. That's the way I'm going to look at it. So, all right, let's play. We got about another 2.5 minutes max. Not even quite that. Let's go on.
Or a sex club payment.
That was for a sex club payment.
Sex club payment.
Payments such as this from Hunter Biden to prostitutes. Also, Mr. Shapley.
Come on. Mr. Chairman, we're 1 minute and 53 seconds over. As long as Ms. Ocasio-Cortez can get equal time, she can keep going.
I will let Ms. Green wrap up 5 seconds, and then I'll give Mr. Mafume additional time.
Thank.
So they're getting upset because she just showed a pretty graphic picture, even though it was dark, you know, blacked out in certain areas, but literally, it was pretty graphic. Even I just went, oh my gosh, just because I saw it here, even though it was blurred out. But the problem is they need to see the truth. You know, it's time to put on your grown-up pants up there, guys, and see what's going on. Even though I don't want to see it, Marjorie Taylor Greene does not want to put that out there, but she's doing it because she's doing her job to prove a point what's really going on up there in D.C. Any thoughts before I go on, Jerry?
Yeah, you know, I mean, for the ones that are saying, you know, like, you know, Cortez and stuff like that, don't want to see it, shouldn't have
it's
to
many
see
of
it
them.
and everything like that. You know, hey, why don't you go talk to Tim Ballard about what he had to look at in his job?
Right.
You know, when he was a DHS agent and he was working with child trafficking, and he had to watch the kind of stuff that he had to watch in order to convict the people that he convicted. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, you're just looking at two adults that are doing something that, most of the people in the room have at least done once or twice in their life. And so, your job is not that hard compared to the people that have to work in the actual child human trafficking.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, my wife was talking about that movie last time. She really wanted to do a podcast on it. And I understand her thoughts here. She doesn't get on my podcast because she doesn't want to be, I guess she doesn't want to be out there politically. And I can understand that because of the business she does. She's involved with a lot of different reps, salespeople, a variety of things. But that being said, that she tries to keep all that out of her work life, and I get that. That one, she almost came on the podcast and talked about it. She's still debating if she wants to do that because she is very, very upset seeing about all this, human trafficking, all that's going on out there. And I can tell you, I stand behind my wife 100%. And I am right there with her on all this. So I'm trying to do this on her behalf as well, talking about a lot of this stuff too. So anyway, let's go on. We got about another minute and a half.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Shapley, you started an investigation into Hunter Biden, codenamed Sportsman, which opened in November of 2018. It was an offshoot of an investigation the IRS was conducting into a foreign-based amateur online pornography platform. This is evidence of Hunter Biden making sex. Excuse me, this is my time. Making pornography.
Should we be displaying this, Mr. Chairman, in the committee?
The lady's time has expired and went 2.5 minutes over. If Mr. Mafume wants the 2.5 minutes, he can have it. If he wants to yield some to Ms. Ocasio-Cortez when she goes, she can have it. We'll make it right. 2.5 minutes. You all have an extra 2.5 minutes. Chair recognizes Mr. Mafume for 5 minutes.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
State your point.
My understanding is that this committee was provided the suspicious activity reports on the condition that it not publicize them for the reason that they are not actually even allegations, much less evidence of anything. And my colleague from Georgia has now just revealed it publicly.
That is a good point. However, that suspicious activity report has been public for years. That suspicious activity report was on the internet long before I became chairman of this committee. So that particular suspicious activity report has already been publicized.
Thank you for that clarification. She had said it was part of the thousands she reviewed, but I appreciate the clarification.
Public and able that we all reviewed in the Treasury.
Chair's reclaim time. Chair recognizes Mr. Mafume.
All right. That being said, that's over. So, what do you guys think? What do you guys think about all that was just said? And obviously the Democrats at the end tried to say, oh, that's been out there for a while. I don't care if it's been out there for a while, some of it. It's what he does. It's what's going on. It's who's in the White House right now. It's about the big guy. It's about everything that's going on in this country right now. And it's really, really a disgrace what's going on. You hear about it on the news. You hear about what's going on in the news. We've never had our country like this before. When it comes to them, when it comes to crime, when it comes to many things out there, when it comes to the open borders, when it comes to drugs, when it comes to all this stuff, it is absolutely going bonkers. And to see this stuff and hear this stuff and not have, when I was a child, all I kept hearing from my parents, who my father was also in law enforcement at one time too. But that being said, remember, if anything happens, run up to the officers and they'll protect you. And you know what? I still believe that in local law enforcement. I still believe that in many law enforcement. When it gets to the DOJ, the FBI, I'm scared sometimes about what's going on. I mean, when you see this, and I'm not talking about all of them, but why aren't they doing their job and throwing that laptop out there and saying, let's see the evidence, let's get this out of the way and clear the table with this and move on? Jerry?
Absolutely. I mean, the fact that they haven't taken this laptop and said, okay, we're going to go through this, and anything that's a crime, we're filing the charges and we're moving forward. Anything that's questionable, we'll see if we can gather more information. Anything that's not a crime, okay, we'll forget about it. But the fact that they just sat on the whole thing, and actually part of the thing with these whistleblowers, and even though I'm happy that the whistleblowers have come forward, part of the thing with the whistleblowers is what they're saying is a lot of this information was sat on until the statute of limitations expired. So now there's a lot of stuff that we know he was guilty of that we can't do anything about. And so, what I'd like to see is somebody at justice held accountable. You sat on this information. Great. Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and prosecute you for, failure to perform your job. And, we're going to or not prosecute you for it, but we're going to hold you accountable for it. And if there was a criminal element to what they did, then yes, prosecute.
Yep. There's an old saying, a leopard cannot change its spots.
Yep. That's true.
My point. All right, guys. I think we've had enough. We've said enough. I think you guys need to look at the evidence. You need to really do your research on this. I don't like talking about this stuff. I don't like bringing this stuff out. This was pretty graphic what was said tonight, some of this stuff, and shown out there. When you guys start doing the research, pull up Marjorie Taylor Greene. Go ahead and look at what was out there. Go ahead and look at what the whistleblower said. Go to YouTube and look it up because it's right there on YouTube right now. They haven't taken it down yet, but it's out there. And definitely it's going to be on Twitter, obviously. I'm really appalled. I'm really appalled. The more I see this, the more I see what's going on. I'm really, really, really disappointed in the DOJ right now. And not all of them. It's just the higher ups. And like I said, if any of you out there in the IRS or anything, if you know what's going on and if you need to be a whistleblower, definitely get up there and talk to them, do your job, and do the right thing. It's about the law. It's not about politics. It really isn't. Well, that's what it should be.
Even if you're a good person and you've done a good job, if you're not a whistleblower at this point and you know something's going on, then you're part of the problem. And, I don't want to hear you whining on TV about how, but I'm one of the good ones. Well, if you don't stop the bad stuff, then you're not one of the good ones.
Exactly. All right. Speaking of our law enforcement, guys, I want to thank you for everything you do. I love our law enforcement. I really do. As a matter of fact, I support our law enforcement all the time. I was with Donnie Harrison while he was running for Wake County Sheriff. He's a very good dear friend of Jory's and mine both, him and his wife as well. Now we've got, Mark Robinson out there running for governor. Let me tell you, I am supporting him big time, and it looks like he's probably going to win. And you know what? He would be over here talking about the same stuff right now, and he would be talking about the right and wrongs of what's going on in this country, and with God as well. He'll be talking about God and why we need to follow God and what has been taken out of this country, one nation under God. So again, I do want to thank our law enforcement for everything you guys do. I do want to also thank our first responders for everything you guys do as well. I want to thank our truck drivers. I was getting ready to go somewhere with that, but I'm not. It was about the tornado. You heard about the tornado. It took one of the Pfizer plants out. That was with the vaccine. Well, that's interesting. Talk about karma. That's where I was going to go. That's why I kind of... All right. Want to talk about our first responders. Again, thanks for everything you guys do. Again, our truck drivers, our farmers, and everything you guys are going through. And God knows, one last thing I'm going to say to the Prime Minister of Canada, put those fires out. We're tired of the smoke down here. It keeps coming in. Do your job. And another thing with that is, where is Biden saying we are going to go ahead and help Canada put those fires out? Let's send people up there and help out. Right, Jerry?
Absolutely. You know, and I mean, why aren't we sanctioning Canada for polluting the rest of the globe? I mean,
right.
We sanction other companies when they do stuff like that. So why not Canada?
Yeah. And we love Canada. It's just, we don't like him. And most of the Canadians, unless you're in the city, like him, but most of them do not like him. And their voting system's completely different than ours. So One of my best friends is from Canada, and I'll tell you, it's a nightmare to get that guy out of there. I'm telling you. And I actually had to people I know that just moved from Canada because of him. So they're now living in the U.S., and thank you for that, guys. Oh, they came in illegally, by the way. That being said, all right, guys, well, I just want to say this. Listen to the podcast. Go to my website. Let's repeat that. Go to www.just-markcommonsense.com. Please go to the bottom of the webpage. Go to my YouTube channel. Go to my Spotify. Go to my Apple. I am on podcast everywhere out there. I am all over the place. You can find me on Truth. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook. I'm all over out there, guys. So please follow along, and I will see you out there soon. Jerry, anything else before we end this?
Nothing extra.
As always, I'm going to say one thing. God bless you. God bless America, and keep God in our hearts and keep God in our life, guys. And that's the most important thing. And keep an eye on your family and take good care of them. Not like Joe Biden does. Take care and have a great night. Take care. Thanks.